Hello, my name is Richard. I am going to be showing off a Security Operating Center Home Lab via VirtualBox here. It's going to be a little mini series of a walkthrough setting this all up. So, link in the description for my GitHub. What you're going to want to do is click on that link, open it up, and it'll bring you down to this page right here. This will probably look a little bit different depending on when you're accessing this. This docs will be removed because all the steps are now added into the steps folder. But let's just get right into this. We don't have to worry about any of this. This is kind of a little disclaimer here. Let's get right into the steps. So as you can see, once we're in the steps here, there's about 20 steps, and with these you also have configs. So in this configs folder, as you can see, we have a couple of files that we are going to be configuring in the future. Not in this video, but in the next couple of videos we'll probably be doing that, and we might be looking at these explain files. If not, you can just go ahead and check them out yourself. They will explain how each line of code works within that particular system that we're configuring it on, as well as the rest of the ecosystem. So let's just dive right in. First things first, we're going to need to get the VirtualBox set up. I don't know why it shows download like that. There we go. We got a little picture back. So go ahead and install VirtualBox. You're just going to click on that link. Go ahead and open it up, except download. Download it for Windows or Linux or whatever operating system that you're on. This is probably going to work best on Windows, as that is what I'm using it on, but it may work on other things. I haven't tested that out. But go ahead and install VirtualBox. First thing you're going to want to do. Then install all these ISO files. All these will take you to the location where you need to download. Some of them will require you to download other installers before you do. I know it's a little bit silly, specifically with Windows 10. It requires installation media tool. So go ahead and install that, and then you'll be able to create the ISO file. You can find the instructions on how to do that through the link there. Just go ahead and click on Windows 10. It'll bring you here, and then you'll click this drop down and follow along the steps to get your ISO file right there. So go ahead and do that. Same thing, pfSense, it's going to require you to use Netgate. Before, on this same exact page, you were able to just select the version that you wanted and click download, but that's no longer the case. They require you to use the Netgate installer, so go ahead and download. It'll take you to this page. It looks a little bit weird, requires this. I'm not sure exactly if it's going to require you to actually provide a credit card or anything like that. If it does, you can try and find a different way around it, but I don't believe it will. It might. If it does, go ahead and try and see if you can figure out a different way to do that. Otherwise, I will probably be having some of my ISO files just directly uploaded to this so that you guys can download them without, having to go through the hassle of all this stuff going on here. But, you can select whatever version you want for any of these. They will probably all work pretty much the same, because a lot of mine are older versions. You can even use Windows 11 if you want. You don't have to use Windows 10 or a newer Windows server. Doesn't really matter. That's just the one that I used. So go ahead and do that. But for specifically Security Onion, you're going to use this specific link, this specific ISO build, because it does have WASA, and that's extra logs that we can utilize. It's a host-based intrusion detection system that would be preferable to have in our home lab for realism. So we're going to have that. And as with this specific ISO image, it does include it. Some of the newer ones, it no longer has it. I was not able to find an explanation to that. Maybe it was just because they wanted to make it a little more lightweight. I'm just speculating here, but just go ahead and download that specific one there. That way it works properly and you can follow along, so you can have, a better environment for, security. So let's just go ahead and continue here. Down here with these steps here, these are the minimum requirements. I know a little bit heavy with security on 100 gigabytes. It requires 100 gigabytes. If you do not allocate at least 100 gigabytes at the bare minimum, it will not allow you to install or set up the specific ISO. So all these minimum requirements, I'm going to probably put a little bit more on each of these. I'll probably put like 150 gigabytes on this, 100 on here, probably keep it 10 here. You don't need very much for, any actual space for pfSense. So 10 gigabytes, pretty much fine for that. 30 gigabytes is pretty minimum for these. You won't be installing much on these ones. These are just going to be the victim ones. Windows Server will be hosting a few things, but we'll get into that a little bit later. 2 process for each VM. We'll probably change that at least just 1 for pfSense you can get away with. Along with the RAM here, 12 gigabytes security onion is very, very hefty, so keep that in mind. 4 gigabytes for this as well. I'm going to be probably using these minimum specs here because I don't want to use a lot of RAM for these. So we'll go ahead and do this right now. Once you get these ISOs, once you get this set up, we're going to jump into VirtualBox. So first things first, when you jump into it, it'll look like this. Mine looks like this because I have all these, snapshots of my little group of, what I set up before, just to make sure this is all feasible before I published it. But yours is going to look like this. Yours is not going to have this or any of this, so don't worry about that. Yours is going to look like this. We're going to go ahead and click New. We're going to name it, and we can start out with whatever we want to start out with, but we're just going to name it Windows Server 2022 just to keep it in line with what the actual ISO is. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to select VirtualBox here. So it shouldn't have anything in here. No, but I just created this folder. You can create the folder. It will, again, go specifically to this one. It'll have users, whatever your username is in VirtualBox VMs. That's the default. But I added a new folder in my hard disk drive because this one has a lot of storage. So I'm going to use this one. You can keep it default if you have enough storage. Otherwise, use a different drive. But ISO image, I already have the ISO images in these specific folders. In a HomeLab folder, I recommend you to do the same just to keep everything a little bit organized in case you want to replicate things down the line. You don't want to delete the ISO files. So we'll just jump into it. Windows Server 2022. We do not need the unattended installation because it will require you setting up all this stuff. We don't need that. I don't think we have the proper things for that. But then we're going to jump into this. We're just going to go 3072 because that is 3 gigabytes. And we need at least 2 full processors for that. And we're going to probably have 50 gigabytes for this one. So leave it default. Added. Now it will be added to my group there. So we can remove it from the group. And now we have it separated. So this is what it will look like. This is what yours will look like without the test group. Disregard this. We don't need that. So now we're just going to do the exact same thing for all the other ones here. We are going to select this, and we are going to get another ISO file here for pfSense. So we're again do the same thing. Doesn't really matter. You can probably have it at 2048, I believe. One processor is fine. 10, and let's just, before we do that, let's just double check if that's exactly how mine looks. I could have possibly changed it. So I did change it to Ubuntu, so that's all right. I'm going to minimize, reopen it just so this page opens up. And we're going to go back up here and we are going to change it to Linux, and we're going to change it to, Ubuntu. There we go. Alrighty, so now we have it 10 and about 2, 1, boom. So now that's added. That. And then go ahead and add a few more here. Windows 10. Add the location for it. Again, same location as with the other ones. ISO file, select your ISO file. Not unattended. 50 is fine. And that is not good because we need about 3 here. You might not even need 3, but I'm going to put 3. Just to be sure. You could probably get away with 2 on the Windows 10 one because you're not going to be doing too much on it. So next one is security onion, and we can go ahead and put it back in the VirtualBox location like with the other ones, and same thing. Get the ISO file, not unattended. This one we're actually just going to use Oracle Linux, and we are going to make this 12 gigabytes. So 12 gigabytes is quite a lot. I think it's 12.84 if I'm not mistaken. Let me just go ahead and double check that here. v2 MBS. And so that's about 12,000. I do think though that we do have to put in binary mistake, so it's actually 888. So that was 4. Okay, and we need at least 2 processors. And for the security union, we need at least 100, but I'm gonna put 150 just to be sure. There we go. And then we are going to want to add another one here. So this one's going to be Splunk server into desktop. Now we are going to add it to the virtual box here. We are then going to select the ISO image for it. There we go. We do not need that. Specify. We need about 4, so I think it's like 4, 6, I believe. 2 processors. Need about 50. I want to put 100 though. Okay, so now we have that. Okay, now we are going to add the Kali Linux one here. So Linux. Here we go. We are then add it to the same location as with the rest of them. Hit the ISO file and Kali. There we go. So Ubuntu, perfectly fine. I can double check just to make sure that my other little group here has it as well. So Ubuntu, perfect. I'm gonna minimize, reopen, so it has this. There we go. And once again, we're gonna need about 1,072 with 2 processors, and we can put 50. You can put 30, but I'm gonna put 50. So now we have everything. We have all 6 of them. Alrighty, so moving on here, we're gonna go to step 2 with pfSense setup. There's gonna be a lot of network adapter setup along with gateway addresses and some DHCP settings here. So we'll get into that right now. I'm just going to pull this over to the side of the screen so I can follow along with the steps. It's pretty simple to follow here. So first things first, I did rename this. That way it doesn't get confused with my other pfSense here, because we are going to be doing a command prompt, a couple commands here, and I don't want to mess up the existing one that I already have. So I renamed it to this. You don't have to if it's your first time going through. There will be no confusion on your end, but we're just going to jump into it. We're going to go into the settings here, and we're going to go down to network, and we're going to enable all 3 of these, 2, 3, and 4. We can leave this one just as it is. It's going to connect to, the LAN here, which will allow us to get to the internet. So we're going to go internal network, and we can name it Windows Gateway. It's already pre-populated here for me. It might be the same for this one, Kali Gateway, which is perfectly fine. And on this one, we can go Management Gateway. In a real network, this would likely just be a subnet of the other one, and you would be doing a lot of actual network configurations via switches and routers to deny or allow specific traffic to it. But in this case, we're just going to have it as its own separate network, and we can actually just kind of pretend like it's a subnet by keeping it within the subnet. That's kind of what we're going to do here with the next few sets of setup steps here. So looks good. Just again, adapter 2 looks like this, adapter 3, and adapter 4. For adapter 5, because we're going to need a span network, the span network is just going to be a network that we use to kind of view traffic on. It'll be used for security onion. But what we're going to do is we are going to change directories here to the Oracle VirtualBox directory. And then from there, we are going to check out some that we can do. First one, we're just going to see VMs here, so plenty of them. It actually includes all of them. All of these ones up here, but the one we're looking for is this one, which is the one I'm talking about. So, name that. Okay, I got it. Copied it. All I did for that was just highlight and right click, and then you can just right click from here on out. But What we're going to do now is we are going to add the network interface card number 5 here. That way we can have that traffic able to be viewed via, here, we'll just do this, via the security onion here. So let's go ahead and go through these commands. There we go. So we added it. We can go up and we can change this to internal network 5, and we can name it span. There we go. And last thing that we have to do, we got to make sure that it is in promiscuous mode. So that way, and you do need promiscuous mode for the span network to work properly. Otherwise, not all the traffic will be received. So yeah, we need promiscuous mode, which will allow us to receive all the packets, not just the ones that are addressed to a specific MAC address, and it allows for Security Onion to, monitor all that traffic here. And you'll kind of see that when we set up Security Onion later on. But as for the time being, if you do want to check out, just to make sure that everything's kind of going good with this, here's what we can do. We can do vbox manage, and this is not a command that's shown actually in the steps that I have listed, but we can actually see everything, all the stuff here. So we can take a look. So make one cable connected. That looks good. Again, we can see all this. Let's just make sure that number 5 is good. So it does have it, internal network. Good, good, good. And we do have promiscuous mode on. So that's fantastic. We know that that's worked. Now, the next step is we're going to go ahead and boot up pfSense. So let's go ahead and start it up. We'll wait for that to start up here. And it may boot up on a different screen. Again, this is going to be pretty small. But we'll give it a couple moments here to kind of boot up. And yeah, right now it's just going to be quite small. So I do apologize for that. I believe you can make it a little bit bigger by adjusting some of these here, but I don't think you can do that while it's booted on. But it's all right if it's like this. So we'll just go ahead and go accept. Then we're going to go ahead and install. For this one, we can go with the universal file system here. We don't need ZFS. ZFS is a special kind of file system. Zettabyte file system mainly just has a few features that UFS does not have, mainly with pooled storage, copy on write, snapshots for track changes, automatic repair, and data integrity verification, along with RAID Z. If you're familiar with RAID configurations, but we don't need all that because this is not like an enterprise related, project here. We're just kind of doing it at home, so we shouldn't be dealing with any data loss or anything like that. So we'll go with UFS for the time being here. All right, and so on this one, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to go ahead and do the entire disk. And all right, now on this one, here's what we're going to do for partitions. We're just do GPT here. Again, 1080p. It doesn't really matter with all this stuff. This is pretty much fine, so we'll go ahead and just finish it up. And now they'll be written to disk, so anything permanently there is already erased, blah, blah, blah. We can go ahead and just commit to it, and we'll go ahead and wait for this to kind of go through. As you can see at the top left here, now, kind of right below where my mouse is hovering here, instead of free BSD, it is now pfSense installer. So I'm going to go ahead and just wait for this to install here. It may take a moment or so, but we'll be right back when it's done. Alrighty, and it does look like we're going to have to reboot here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, and we're back, so we're going to go ahead and just accept. And it does look like we might have run into an issue here, so let's go ahead and try this one more time. I apologize for that. We kind of ran into an issue where we're just continuously booting into the ISO there rather than the hard disk. I thought I already changed this setting here, but I guess I didn't. So go ahead and go back into System, move the hard disk up to the very top, check it, make sure optical is second. Everything else we're not going to be using, so go ahead and uncheck it. And then try and do the steps again. We're just going to move on to the gateway address. What we're going to do, we're just going to go into this and we're going to follow along. So set interface IP address, so 2. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to do number 2 here. So we're going to select the LAN or static, or we can configure this LAN via DHCP. Well, we could, but I don't believe we're going to do that. So we're just going to say no. And then we're going to add the IP address. So I'm going to make this 192.168, and we make it 50 just so that it's easy. And that's that. Okay. And then now what we're going to do is we are going to decline the, upstream here. So, yeah, we're just going to enter. No. We're not going to do this. We don't need anything for this either. So it's not needed. Do we want DHCP server on LAN? Yes, we actually do want that. So yes, and the start address of the IPv4 client range. So we can just go 192.168.50.10 because why not? We'll do 10, and then the ending range we're going to do 192.168.50.100. Obviously, there's not going to be that many, but this just kind of show off that we can kind of configure it on here. You can do whatever you'd like and whatever IP addresses that you would like. Would you like to revert to HTTP via the web protocol? Yeah, we can go ahead and do that, and this will allow us to do web configuration once we set up the Windows server. So very cool, very cool. We can actually access it via that, so just keep that in mind, keep a mental note of that. As you can see, now it's updated there with the v4 up there. It's 192.168.50.1/24, so very cool, very cool. Next, what we're going to do is set up the other interfaces here. So we don't see them just yet, but that's because we haven't assigned them. So we're going to do assign, which is option 1 here. We're going to say no VLANs. We're going to name the WAN interface EM0. Keep it the same. WAN 1, we are going to name it, we can say victim gateway. Easy. We can just name it, I guess, whatever it is. So EM2. EM3, EM4. So that's kind of how it's going to look, which is perfectly fine. So we name it as such, and we're just going to click yes, and give it a moment. Wait for that to load. All right, now that we're back here, we are going to go ahead and assign the interfaces here. So here's what we can do. We're just going to start off. And we're going to go into EM2 here. So we're going to go assign EM, or let me just do number 3 actually. We are not going to do DHCP. And what is the optional one IPv4? Remember, this is going to be our Kali Linux attacker one. So in the notes here, and you may have seen just on the video, it was, a subnet of the 192.168 kind of address here. But we're not going to do that. We're actually just going to make it something else like 172.16. Like that, which is another very common IP address, So now that we have that decided there, and I will definitely update the address kind of moving forward. Don't forget the subnet here. 24. Are we going to do any upstream? No, we're not going to do that. We're going to do any IPv6. So, do we want DHCP on here? Sure, we can have DHCP on here. We'll do 16 dot, keep it the same, and we'll do the exact same as with the other one. So there we go, and we can make it to 100. There we go. So now the saves, or the changes are going to be saved. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to do the exact same thing, set, and then we're going to select 4. We are going to do a DHCP. No, we're not going to do DHCP just yet. We are going to do 192.168 seconds 168, and this one we can make it 100. I guess we can make it 100 here. Can be the gateway address for it. Make sure it's 4 there. No upstream, no DHCP6. We don't need that. Okay, yeah. We're just going to use static mapping here for the setup for both of them there. So that's what we'll do. We're going to decline this then. So we're going to go no. And we're just going to do set interface. Yes, 5. No. None. No. No. And so we'll see if that goes through. Okay, so don't really have to do anything with that as long as it's there. It doesn't look like it did anything, but I was just double checking to make sure. It looks like everything is now set up. So we can kind of move on to the next one here. Alrighty, moving on to step 3 here. We are setting up Windows Server and Active Directory here. Should be pretty straightforward. So I'm going to bring this to the side and we are going to follow along with the steps here. So just to double check what we did before, we're just going to make sure all the interfaces on pfSense are up. So enter 1 and we should see they're all up. Fantastic, fantastic. Control Z, exit. And now we don't need a full run with that. So before we can start Windows Server, open up the settings for it, go to network, make sure adapter 1, yours will look like this. This is take 2 for me. We'll make it internal network, Windows Gateway. Make sure it's the exact same spelling that we had before on the pfSense router here for its adapter 2, which is the Windows Gateway. So make sure that's the case, and we can easily do that by going into here and just using the drop down menu, selecting Windows Gateway. Okay, so now we can go ahead and boot it up. We'll wait for it to boot up. And now that it's booted up, we can go ahead and just make sure everything looks good here, which it does. Run it next, install, wait for the setup. And then we are going to select the standard desktop experience here, which is the standard evaluation desktop experience. We will then accept to the software license terms. We'll do custom install, allocated, next. We'll wait for this to go through here. And we're back. So that did take a couple of minutes, probably 3-4 minutes, but once it does reboot, which it automatically will reboot, it will bring you back to this. So what we're going to do is set up a password for it. We'll just put in a password of go ahead and do that and click finish. So this is setting up the admin account here. And then to get into it, you use input, keyboard, insert, delete. And you should be able to get in here. Alright, so now that we're up and running, first things first, what we're going to do is we're just going to do about your PC. And we are going to name it PC1, which I accidentally did. We are going to name it DC1. And it's going to ask us to restart. So we're going to restart and we'll do other. Alright, and now we're back in, so we can just double check. Type about your PC, and it shows DC1 there, so pretty good. We'll wait for the server to pop back up here. Next thing, we can install a VirtualBox Guest Editions, but I would put that as optional here because a lot of these other ones I didn't have to do that for a lot of these to work. So we're just going to continue on here. And we're going to change the IPv4 adapter. So let's go into this settings and we'll go to adapter options. And we are going to then change this here. And we can try and use this as the DHCP. So we're going to use this as the DHCP. And we can use this as a backup. This is the pfSense gateway, so it's going to use this one as the backup one. So fine. Double check, make sure that worked. All right, good. Now what we're going to do is set up Windows Server 2022 with Active Directory. So we can go ahead and go into Manage, Add Roles and Features. We're going to do next, next. next. And we can do Active Directory domain features here. So we're going to go ahead and add that. We can just add all features, including management tools. So add all features. Okay, it does look like we might need a DNS server as well. So we can add that. Now that we have domain services along with DNS server, we are good to go on that front. We'll just click next, next, and next, and next. We'll do this. Yes. Okay, and now we can just install. Yeah, we'll wait for that to install. All right, and it looks like it's complete now. So we're going to go ahead and just close. And now we get this flag up here. So we'll put this, we will promote this to the domain controller. And in doing so, we're going to have to create a new forest. So add forest. And we are going to name this. Make sure it's a dot. Okay. So we can leave this at forest functional level server 2016. That's the latest one. Domain name server here. That is what we like. Set global catalog server. Yep. We don't need that. And well, it does look like this is required here. So we're just going to use the exact same. And then we'll click next. We don't need a DNS delegation, NetBIOS domain name. That's fine. We'll probably keep the rest of this default here. Let me just double check. So yeah, it looks like we're going to leave additional options and paths as default. So just keep that default. Next. This is going to do some checks, so we'll come back. Okay, so now we're back. It looks like I found some, issues here, but it looks like it's not going to prevent us from installing here as all prerequisite checks have been passed. So we'll just go ahead and install it, and it may take a couple of moments here. All right, and then we get this message here. So we'll go ahead and close it, and we'll see what happens here. And it looks like it's going to restart. And we're back. So it does look like we do now have Active Directory, which you can see here. Looks like we're good, along with DNS. We're not going to touch that for the time being, but now we have Active Directory. So we can turn off Windows Firewall and Defender. It is optional though. It just allows for a greater attack surface when we're trying to do attacks from Kali Linux in the future. But the plan for right now is just kind of get the environment set up, and then we can figure out how we want to attack this victim network that we're setting up. So after setting up Active Directory, it is another optional step that we can do is setting up certificate services on Windows. But we don't really need it, and just based on my other kind of setup with my test lab over here, it's not being utilized for anything, so it will probably be utilized for something down the line. But as for right now, we're not using it, so we can just kind of skip over that for right now. Alrighty, and we're back. So I did some off recording troubleshooting here because for whatever reason before this was not connected, but I got it to work. All I did was reboot both the pfSense router and this one as well. There was no special configurations with anything there. I knew that it was supposed to be connected, but now that's connected, we can kind of move forward with this. I'm glad that it didn't mess up anything with the Active Directory or the DNS kind of set up there. And let's just double check just to make sure here if this adapter, we can disregard the updates there, if this adapter did keep our changes from before, which again it did not. So we're going to go ahead and do that again. We're going to set it to the loopback address of this machine here, and then we are going to put this the victim network gateway, which is pfSense up there, 192.168. 51-24. So we can go ahead and keep it like that, and then we can close it. Now let's just double check, make sure that it kept the properties, which it did. So all this is going to do is use this DNS service that we set up on here. Otherwise, it's going to point to this if it doesn't know it. So pretty good. We like that. We can just kind of remove both of those there. All right, so now we're going to do pfSense web configuration. So I can pull this up just for a second for everybody to see. And now we are going to continue with this. So just go ahead, slide this to the side, and we're going to follow along with what it was before. Again, we can double check just to see. Type dog. Okay, dog pops up. So we can go to pfSense. What is the login? It's going to be admin, and then pfSense is going to be the password there. You can go ahead and save the password. It's all right. And we'll just go ahead and complete this setup here. So go next. Host name. It's just the host name of the firewall. So you just keep the default name of pfSense. The domain is going to be lab.local. Different from homelab.local. Lab.local, excuse me. And then the primary DNS server is going to be 1.1.1. Cloudflare's DNS. Secondary is going to be Google's DNS. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and move forward here. We're going to uncheck the allow DNS servers to be overridden by DHCP/PVP on WAN. This prevents WAN DHCP from overriding other various configurations. So I'll continue with that. Here we go. We're just going to keep the default, I guess, time server here. Again, this is an UTC, so perfectly fine. We'll continue with it. All right. So now this is configuring the WAN interface. We'll just keep the default WAN interface configuration for the time being here. We'll just go, we'll have to uncheck this actually, block RFC 1918 private networks, because all the interfaces within this lab use private addresses, and these will need to be unchecked for upstream communication and allow the VMs to test the firewall. Let's move forward here. And then we will probably just keep the LAN IP address here. I mean, I think it's fine. We could use the, 168.0.1, but I think 50 is fine. Just keep it, as it is. Now I don't have to change much more things in the documentation. So the admin password, this is the password we're going to use. We can pick whatever password you like. I'm going to go ahead and upload it. Update it, and we're going to reload, and we're going to wait. So I'll be right back. Oh, and it looks like we're good here. So we'll just finish. I don't need to check for updates for the time being. We're just going to continue with some of this configuration here. Let this load. All right, and once that's done loading, it'll bring you here. This is the default page. You can add some other things onto this page if you'd like. This is pretty configurable if you want to remove or minimize, or whatever you'd like to do. You can minimize it. Basically, as you can see, they're all up. So, and latest system up to date. It shows my CPU and everything. But yep, this is kind of how it looks. What we have to do now is make sure all the rules from the LAN interface is copied over to the other one. So we're going to go to firewalls, rules, and then WAN. Perfectly fine. Doesn't matter. LAN, we're going to copy at least both of these over to these ones over here. And we should be good after we do that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show it off after we're done. All right, so I just copied some of the rules over, as you can see on OBD1. These have been copied over, and again, this is switched. I had difficulties with this before, where I ran into an issue, and I didn't check that the source was actually from this over here. So it's totally fine. Here's how you do it. You just select all. It's only going to copy these two. We'll have to manually create this one, but then you go copy, and we'll select OBD3 here. Actually, I don't believe we put anything on there. I do apologize, but this is how you do it. You just go copy OBD2, enable. So conversions, if it's LAN, then it's going to go to OPT1, etc., etc. So we'll do that. And we can check over it now. Obviously, this is already applied, so we're just going to delete these two. Yeah, and then we're just going to apply changes. So that looks good. Okay, now we got to get this anti-lockout rule at least onto the management network, because that's where we'll probably be accessing this going forward, but we can still have it on this one in case we do want to have it. So we're going to go ahead and recreate that now. And we'll just go ahead and head over to OPT2. And this is the management network. We're going to rename these in a second here, but I do want to add one at the very top. We are going to pass it. We're going to go OPT2, IPv4, TCP, perfectly fine. We don't need these other ones here. The source, I think that's fine as well. Destination, it's going to be OPT2. And the port is going to be port 80. So there we go. I do believe that we also need to add Q. Okay, I think Q is fine. I don't think we need Q. There's not going to be anything really being done with Q. But now, as it looks fine. So, and we can even add a description for this. Let's see right here. So we're going to go anti-lockout. There we go. We can save it. And so now it looks essentially the same here. I mean, that's protocol 80, but realistically, how we're going to be accessing that is via IPv4, so it doesn't really matter. But now we can go ahead and apply changes, and we're moving on. Now from here, what we're going to do is we are just going to name these interfaces to what we'd like to name them here. So actually, we're going to start with LAN, and we're going to name this, or we could actually just say it. And we'll just say victim. We'll put it on there so it's easy. And yeah, we'll save that. We'll apply. Give it a second. There we go. That's applied. And then we'll do attacker. Save that. Apply. And do management. Apply. And then we're going to do and save and apply. And there we go. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to bridge the span port to victim. So span network in ours is what it's called, but we're going to go to interfaces, then assignments, then bridges, then we're going to add, and then we're going to select the victim network right here. So victim, and then we are going to add this span port, span network. And we're going to scroll down and save. So bridge 0 victim network. There we go. So now it looks good. And in case you haven't seen any of the other kind of explanations out there on span ports or what they're really used for, they're just going to copy or duplicate the network traffic from a specified interface, which will allow you to then monitor it without any kind of network degradation. Okay. So that's all the purpose of this really is, and it's for Security Onion to kind of monitor traffic without there being any hiccups, at least on the victim network there. Okay, so it does seem like we now need to set up a static DHCP mapping for the domain controller, and this is just to kind of have an easier way of testing this in case for whatever reason you boot up the Windows 10 PC or you have other PCs and it takes the old IP address that it once had, kind of get a little confusing. So it's always good to have a static mapping for domain controllers. It's actually industry practice. That way it's just easier to determine where things are flowing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to services, DHCP server, and we're already on the victim network, which is perfectly fine. We're going to scroll down. We're just going to double check the IP address pool, which we did set up to 50 and then to 100, but for whatever reason it has changed. So we're just going to make that 100, and then we're going to save that and apply it. That way we can then add the DHCP static mapping here, copy the IP address, just confirm the IP address. You can go into command prompt and do ipconfig/all, and you can see the physical address right there. So it is the exact same as shown up there. And then the IP address that we're going to do is 192.168.50.101. The host name, we're going to do DC1, and everything else should be perfectly fine. So we're going to go ahead and just save that there, and we will apply the settings. And now we're going to add a couple more settings here. That way any additional PCs that want to join the domain can seamlessly do so. So we are going to change the primary DNS server to the domain controller, and then anything secondary can be, PF since itself. So then we're going to scroll down here. What am I looking for here? Yeah, the domain name. So instead of lab.local, we're just going to go HOMELab. There we go. And that way it's just a little bit easier for everybody to join the network a little bit easier. So, all right, and the next step is going to be setting a static IP map for security onion via edge on DC1. This looks like we might not be able to do it at the moment, so we'll probably end up doing it whenever we're setting up security onion. There is a disclaimer, and I've ran into very many issues when trying to use the DHCP pool trying to set up security onion. So we're just going to use a static mapping, and once we get to it and we have the MAC address to be able to use, we'll utilize that. So I'll probably end up moving that when trying to set up security onion. That way it makes a little bit more sense, but that's all for step 4. We're going to be adding users and or user, and we're going to be adding the Windows 10 Pro, which will be renamed to PC1, to the domain. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get that going. I'm going to slide that to the side just so we can follow it. We minimize that. You can close it if you'd like, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to Active Directory, Users and Computers, and yours will probably look like this. Click the drop down, click users, right click in the empty white space, new user, and then you can just add each to it there. So we'll just say Bill, and we'll put Bill in there. Okay, just to make it easy. And you can put whatever password you like. We're not going to change that. We can just make sure that the password never expires, or you keep it realistic. We'll just keep it realistic for the time being. That's how it's going to look. Bill at local. Perfectly fine. And we can even add another user. So let's just say Fred. If we want Fred to be in here as well, we can add Fred, and we can do the same thing. Very easy to add. So there we go. Pretty easy. Now, we're going to have to go ahead and set up the Windows 10 Pro. So over here, back in the VirtualBox, we're just going to make sure Windows 10 is its adapter and is on the internal network and not the Kali gateway, but the Windows gateway. So any of these ones, I don't need this one. Select OK. And we'll just double check just to make sure. All right, so it looks good. Then we can go ahead and boot it back up. And so we'll wait for that to boot up. Alrighty, now it looks like it's booted up, so it looks pretty similar, just like with this setup over here. We're just going to make sure that all looks good. Next, and install now. All right, and then you're gonna say the product key, and we're just gonna go Windows 10, and we'll select Windows 10 Pro. Accept, next, custom, and then there we go. And then the long wait happens once again, so we'll be right back. All right, so once it's done getting set up there, it looks like we're gonna go through a little bit more setup. So region, yes, we're in the United States. Again, US for the keyboard. Nope, we're not gonna add a second keyboard layout. All right, once that's done, it's gonna give us two choices here. We're just gonna set up for organization because we want to add this to the domain. Otherwise, with the personal use, it's not going to get set up in that fashion. So we'll give this a moment again, and we'll be back. All right, so after that's done loading, we'll get to this screen here. We're gonna go domain join instead. Who's going to use this PC? We're just gonna say admin, and we're gonna give it a password. So security questions. What was your first pest name? Say Bill. Security question number 2 was the city where you were born. It's going to be HOMELab City. There you go. Third question, let's say, what's the first name of your oldest cousin? Red. There we go. Now we'll give that a moment to go, and I'll be right back. Alright, so you get this screen. This is just some more Windows slop here, so we're just going to say, not now. You don't care about that, all this stuff. We can say, sure, whatever. We don't really care about any of this stuff. We're just going to accept it. Doesn't matter for our purpose here. We're just going to skip this customized experience. We don't need that whatsoever. So we'll just continue with this, and we'll give it another moment. So, and then we get this Cortana, not really used anymore. So we'll just say, not now. We don't need that. Then it looks like it's going to load us into this here. So that's what's going to happen. It may take a moment though. So we'll give it another couple moments, and I'll be right back. All right, now it looks like it's booted up. So we're just going to exit out of that. Here we are. What we're going to do, first things first, is about your PC. And instead of this, we are going to rename it to PC1. Right? Give it a moment, and we will restart. So it's going to restart. I'll be right back. All right, now it's done rebooting. We're going to go ahead and go back into this here. So, bang. We're in it. Looks like we're already connected. Let's see if we can bring a couple things here. So we are going to check out this, that, and this. So we're able to reach both PSNs and Windows Server 2022, which is fantastic. So once again, if you were paying attention to what I showed earlier, there was a bullet point with installing VirtualBox guest editions. I'm again going to add that into the optional realm there. You don't really need it, but it does enhance performance and usability. But like with the other computer, Windows Server 2022, we are going to actually change the adapter settings here. And we're going to properties for IPv4, and we are going to make the DNS server 2.168.50.1 and 2.168.50.1. Okay. So respectively DC1 and PF6. So, and then we're going to close it, reopen it just to double check that it actually went through. It is. All right. Now that that's added, we can move on to the next step. Okay, so next steps, it's going to be adding this PC1 to the HOMELab.local domain, and this is only applicable if it didn't actually get automatically added, which the previous configurations that we did should apply here, and we shouldn't need to do this, but let's just double check. So about, and then advanced options, computer name, and it looks like we are still in a work group. So we're not in the domain. Easy fix though. We go ahead and go over here to rename this computer, change its domain. We'll click change, go to domain, and then we'll add local It's gonna add this. We're gonna see this. You can see in the background, HomeLab/administrator. That's what we're gonna do. And then we are going to provide the password. So should go through now. Welcome to the HomeLab.local. And then we are going to have to restart. So we'll go ahead and restart. There we go. I'll be right back once we're done. Alright, so it looks like we're back here, and instead of using this local account that we did, we are going to actually just try and use Fred, and then we can add the so we'll try and log in here. It should allow us to get through. It's the first time logging in as this user, so we'll go ahead and just come back once it's done. Alright, so it looks like we're logged in. Let's go ahead and just test out the other account here that we had. So we're going to use other user and then Bill, and we're going to password for Bill. And it'll probably be the exact same story here, so we'll give it a shot and I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. So we have Bill logged in here. I can hover over Bill. We also have Fred still signed in, which switch user. It didn't sign out of that, but that's alright here. So it looks like we're done for the first 5 steps here. We've set up VirtualBox, pfSense, we've set up Active Directory and Windows Server. We did some web configuration along with adding a couple users, a computer, and joining the HomeLab.local domains.